Welcome everyone to our March 6th policy committee meeting. We have all of our board members here and we have some guests here from guidance, Ms. Heidi and Mr. Kelly. Anything else before we get started? Okay.
No, you good?
So,
Want to get right into the graduation?
yeah,
policies?
we'll go right to graduation policies. So just a little background, and thank you so much for both of you finding time to come. We know that we need to have a policy here in Voorheesville, which would be the 4772 and the regulation for graduation ceremonies. It's a required policy that we currently don't have. So that's why we jumped into this group, because we're trying to get it before, at least that one before graduation. But we have looked at our practices and we feel like we're in full compliance. We just need the policy to go with it. So typically with this group, when we can, we try to look at a group together just to get everything updated while we're touching one and make sure the cross references are good. So that's just a little background on why we're talking about these and why we asked you to come and help us. So I don't know if we want to like just briefly talk about each one and make sure they're giving you guys the structure you think and the help you think is good for what you're trying to do. Maybe just briefly we could talk about each one. We don't have to get sure. Deep. Okay. So the first one is policy 4770, graduation requirements. We do have this policy already in our district, but it is out of date. And in general, I know we had to add some language about the age 22 and some participation in graduation exercises. And Frank has created a draft, and I think with your input to update the graduation requirements that are listed here. Can you find it, Kristen?
So Frank, you sent us some PDFs already.
Yeah, and this was the one I sent like a while back.
The Google Doc?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
No, this one was like a long time
Yes,
ago,
yes.
like you guys gave input on. And that's why I was able to get some of like making sure that we have the financial literacy courses. I had no idea about that. Tim actually shared it. One thing that Tim shared with me was the idea of a local diploma.
Yes.
But that is on the special education requirements. So like the CDOS, the skills, the local. I know Tim, you mentioned like not putting them together.
Right, and I think I left it where I was supposed to reply to your.
No, this one I figured we'd just keep it here.
So, yeah, 4770, it does talk about the different types of diplomas that are available. It does not mention the local diploma.
I see that.
And it should.
It probably should, yeah.
So advanced regents, local, or skills and achievement commencement diploma. Does that work better?
I'd say local diploma.
Oh, because it says regents diploma.
What's a local diploma?
A local diploma is for students who score between 55 and 64 on required regents exams. And those are students that qualify for the safety net, usually because of special education. We have many people getting a
It's in
local diploma.
4773.
During COVID, none, because state ed said anybody who scores 50 to 64 kind of equals 65.
You're all in.
They're all in. So we've had nothing but Regis diplomas for the past 3 years, I think.
Okay.
And perhaps prior to COVID, maybe one or two
One or two a year.
each year.
Yeah. Can I ask another question, since you brought up that the CDOS,
Yeah,
is that a diploma in itself as well? Or is
it's a
that
credential.
so not, so they're not like the skills and the
Correct.
achievement? Because I want to make sure, since we're adding local to that, number 3, should we add CDOS to that, or that's a credential, so it's fine having it in 4773?
So CDOS is a credential that's standalone. Students cannot graduate with a CDOS.
Okay.
They can have it in addition to their any diploma and their staff.
So it's not a graduation requirement.
Correct.
That's good to know.
The way 4770 is written, number 5, student must complete 15 hours of community service. We've been telling kids for years that that has to be during their senior year.
Right. That's why I asked that question, because it's not written that way.
That's why we
Like,
wanted
do we
to.
want it that way? Like, do you prefer it that way, or what do you think is best? Or does it matter?
It's been your practice for how long?
A long time.
Yeah. As long as this has been implemented, we've understood that it was senior year. So let's
Is
put
that
it
what
in
you
policy.
prefer?
But you got power.
I don't know that I have a preference over this, and honestly, last year I kind of took over the oversight of this, and some of the volunteer work is amazing, outstanding, impressive. Some of it is really, you know, you did that for 15 hours. So they get it done to get it done in some cases.
Mhm.
Paige,
You have to say, Paige, do you?
As a senior, I kind of like it being senior year because I feel like people can just sum up like really random things that aren't very meaningful to get 15 hours if it's over the course of 4 years. This is my.
So just, what if they're not senior years? What if it's an early graduation, say junior to
Oh,
that?
that's
So
true.
shouldn't the language say during the year of their commencement? Well, this is the issue with policy, is that you gotta be clear to fix everything.
You're right.
So let's not call it senior year, let's call it during the.
In the year
Yeah.
of graduation.
I could say we've never had a kid not
I
graduate.
prefer senior year, and I don't think 15 hours is a big deal, even if you graduate early.
Yeah, but if
And
you're
these are the
a
kids
junior,
probably
it's not
would be
technically a senior, that's my concern. That's all.
Just say in the
Year
year
of
of graduation.
Is this a local
Yes.
requirement?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a good one.
Oh, I was just curious.
Yeah, I think it's a good practice.
I think just from my experience with 2 children, the senior thing is kind of fun because it kind of brings the kids together. That last year, you're doing some group events for that, kind of a thing they're doing together.
To provide opportunities for them to get the 15 hours. Do we do a service day?
We do a service
We
day
do.
for 2.5 hours. We have 2 blood drives where they could get 4 hours each day, or they could work at the table and at the blood drive.
There's an opportunity like within the school building, kids will volunteer at the Java Hut to work there. Jen Smith in our office gives.
So it's just
Yeah.
scholars.
Like opportunity.
Talent
Yeah, that's
show.
true.
Yep, yep.
There are definitely ways to get it done internally if you wanted to. Yeah. So many things outside of
Yep.
school.
And yes. There will be kids.
I hear you, to provide like equity.
Right, just,
Yeah.
yeah, like if you don't have a car and can't get to.
Right,
outside,
right.
I
If
need
they're currently
to
something easier to serve community. For community service. So yeah, they're, if they need it, we can help them.
I think maybe it should be year prior to graduation as opposed to year out of graduation.
Well, prior would mean they're junior.
Well, like the year span preceding it.
Year proceeding.
Well, within the year?
RG.
Within, yeah, I like within a year of graduation.
Doesn't say the same thing.
In the calendar year? No, within the calendar.
The year of graduation kind of, I understood that.
Yeah, within the year of graduation. Again, we're writing language for something that may or may not happen down the road, but just to clarify.
Yeah.
Right.
And is there anything else that you guys, this guidance, wish this could do for you or for the district? No, I mean, maybe so.
I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Anyone on policy? Have anything?
Can I switch to define?
I feel comfortable with it. How about anybody else?
Yep.
Okay, so
An April meeting?
this would be the second. Okay, if you don't mind just doing it like this, I think it's working on it. Okay. So policy 4771, early graduation, is a recommended policy from NISBA that we have in front of us. We don't have this policy at Voorheesville. It's not a required policy. Let's see.
You guys can't see. Do you have the Google Doc?
No, I have the PDFs that you sent.
Oh, all right. You can't see some of the questions that we ask ourselves. So
They're
Oh,
up there.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
you can't read it up.
Okay.
You can do that.
So, yeah, have you guys had that?
I looked at the PDF. in front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. So in the first paragraph, there's a discussion of the time frame of when student enrolled, right, they start.
Actually, that came from Tim. Tim, do you want to, because you said that to me when I asked you about this, you were talking about timeframes of when this is appropriate or not appropriate.
Actually, before we dig in, do people think we should have this policy? Does it provide good structure? Or is it, it's not required?
I don't think you want to make a policy that you can't enforce.
Mhm.
And we've had kids graduate within 3 years because they met all the requirements. They checked all the boxes. They've got the 22 credits. I don't know how we can stop that.
Mhm.
Well,
Or that we
would you
want to
want
stop that.
Yeah. What would be the purpose of it, I suppose? Maybe
I
that's.
guess just to make sure it's set in stone, like what the expectations are.
Okay,
The policy basically says you can do that,
okay.
right? If there's nothing there, so let's say you've been doing it for years, and again, I don't know history here. But let's say you're doing it for years and a junior graduates early and bumps out a senior for valedictorian or salutatorian.
That's actually a second
covered
part.
there, yeah.
Right. Having the policy say exactly what it is, stops any gray area or banter before that, right?
Codified.
Okay,
So it just allows you the clear understanding of what the expectations are, so that way if people are having the argument back and forth, the policy really is the guidance. that we
Okay.
have to go by. That's the reason to have something like this, especially you have a practice but no policy for it. It can put you up into an area where you could get in a corner and feel kind of not protected.
I like having a policy. I think there are situations that I've seen where students are requesting to graduate early, either sports or something else academically. And I think we might as well just get it down.
I agree too. I just wanted to see how people, I think it would help support your efforts better to just have it written. And then it's not a parent versus what you're saying, it's the policy to support you.
I don't know that we would ever feel that we'd have the right to say no to this stuff.
Mhm.
sure, as long as they hit the requirements.
That you met your requirements.
I think it's more for the second paragraph.
Yeah.
Second paragraph, yeah, I'd love to talk about more.
That's where I
But
think
the first paragraph, before we get to the second paragraph.
Mhm.
So the Board of Education, in certain instances, kind of implies that you guys might say, no, we don't want that kid graduating early. And again, as kind of the gatekeepers, we're not saying no. You want to graduate early, your parents are on board with that, we can schedule it to make it so.
I think that's a good point. I think if we took out that terminology in certain instances, it almost looks like there's a secret code.
Yeah.
And,
Like getting into college.
yeah, we could help you out here, kid, but if you take that out, then we're gonna do it if you meet these requirements.
Yes,
It's not an if or.
yes.
I've never denied it. I mean, I was a high school principal.
It
for-
says down below a little bit.
I think.
Well, that one is, I think you got a good question there. What, by the English department.
As long as you've met all the requirements for graduation. And you wanted them to do, I don't think we.
I mean, the English department chairman, I think that's his language, not ours. We can get rid of that.
Yeah.
But
But can you get rid of that phrase?
I doubt they would.
Frank, can you get rid of the phrase in the first
I'm
sentence?
getting rid of it. Yep. Yeah. The board of Education shall grant students who wish to graduate early from high school in this time. Yep.
Can we skip that middle part?
Come back to it.
Because I think the third paragraph, final paragraph is also saying we need to approve this.
Right.
And I guess we do. And there used to be a contract way back when, yeah,
Yeah.
based on like the font. It was like, one of those old ones where you ran it through the smelly stuff.
Are you suggesting that we flip paragraphs 2 and 3? Because paragraph 3 actually goes with paragraph 1.
I think that's saying you might not even need paragraph.
Well, I'm just wondering. Again, it's, do we see a scenario where we want to stop a kid from graduating early?
Has there been a conversation ever with families? I'm going back to my high school principal time, where a kid wants to graduate early and the family comes in and speaks to the counselors and says, my son or daughter wants to graduate early. I'm concerned about, XYZ or developmental progress or them getting, too early. let's have a conversation. And then is it approved by the parent? Like, so
yeah.
there's a consultation,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
think that's where, I mean, that probably is the
Well,
process. you wanna-
that's where I think this paragraph 3 brings in something other than graduation requirements. It brings in things like his or her future plans.
I know.
The superintendent or their designee will set up procedures within the school to be able,
How
something
about
like
the vague?
a catch-all.
How
We've
about
done
this?
yeah.
The Board of Education, comma, after consultation with the individual students, counselor, student, and parent/guardian, shall grant students.
Because you're not having.
But then, yeah,
We're not having that conversation.
No, I know.
I know what you're trying to say, but
You know what I mean?
that makes it almost like we have to be actively involved.
I say we do the superintendent designee statement on the bottom and get rid of the rest of it.
So not building principal, say the superintendent or
And that could be us.
shall consult
Mhm.
with the individual.
Well, develop procedures for approval of.
Do you want to have to develop procedures?
Right.
Do we have them?
I think it's simply that the guardians of the kid approves. And if the guardian approves, we'll make the schedule work.
Because really what ultimately happens, we have a kid who says, I want to graduate early. We say, all right, let's have a conversation with you and your people. And then we move forward. If it's good or not in their best interest, we have that conversation with.
This happens regularly, right?
Yeah, if not every year, every other year, I would say.
Got 2 graduating early this year.
Yeah.
We have 1 next year. We'll do it.
There's nothing
So
new.
what if the parent doesn't agree? And
Then we won't schedule it. The kid can't take 2 Englishes at once without us putting it in that kid's schedule.
And really, course request scheduling that ultimately comes up to.
This is why that last sentence says it after talking with the parent and guardian. The parent and guardian said, no, I don't want that to happen.
What if they're adults? What age can they make their own decisions?
Well, then that's a conversation you gotta have. I mean,
yeah,
but that's not for us to decide, is it?
No,
no,
But it just, with the
It's
language in
possible.
here that you. need parent
We're setting
approval.
up the possibility this could happen. How that goes about, if it goes about, is really up to parents, guardians, counselors, student.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as that young person is still in high school, even if they're 18, school still has some say over them. The parent still has some say over them. Am I accurate with that? As far as their education goes, anyway.
yeah, I don't know if they're not. On this, I think you're right, but I didn't know.
In those parentheses,
This doesn't say approval by the parent, it says consultation.
How about in regard to individual student requests, the building principal or their designee will consult with the student and guardians to make the determination for early graduation. Done.
Did you already type that in?
Yeah, I did. So the first
For
sentence,
me,
in regard to the individual student request, building principal or their designee will consult with the student and guardians to, because we want to do both, right? Student and guardians to make the determination of early graduation.
I would suggest that sentence actually attached to paragraph number 1.
Yep, I agree.
So let's do that. So it's right now it's a 2-paragraph policy. Easy peasy ones.
Mhm.
There, that's good.
And
Get rid of that bottom. Page is my grammar here.
Looks good to me.
She is.
Sometimes,
Oh,
yeah.
she's- All right.
She helps us with our grammar.
it's great.
and then that last sentence,
Is that, what has been the practice here? I think that's because the board maybe doesn't know, and you informed me of the practice, so I just learned that recently as well, so. What's been the practice?
It's been that,
yeah, so what was the middle paragraph? Student graduating early shall be ranked with the graduating class and shall be eligible for all honors and awards available to that class, including Val and Sal. That's been the practice, and on at least 2 occasions, that's come up. A kid graduating early bumps a kid. That's not a pretty sight. It's not. Personally, and full disclosure here, my kid was one of those kids that almost got bumped, but that year we had co-vals and co-sals. That's not the way to do it. Who wants to hear 4 kids speak and then the president speak and, you know, it was a long graduation ceremony. I think if a student wants to graduate early, maybe they give up that right to be the val or the sal of that class who's been together the previous 12 years. Personal opinion. Yeah.
Feels harsh.
Mhm. I don't think you should. Why would bargaining this? A person that's eligible for it, I realize that it could be ugly, but that's the way this works.
That's the way it is working currently. My rationale there is that the student probably doesn't have as many credits, hasn't been through Brian Stonebaugh's class, for example. I mean, hasn't had the
Maybe
opportunity.
the val and sal determination maybe are really our questions.
It might be.
That's that valedictory class conversation.
Right.
It might be.
Yeah. And you have to have certain things to justify that. If you don't have the credits.
Right. And kids can gain this too, right? Kids can know what my GPA is. And there's, you know, this kid always above this kid, right? Well, let's see, the class above me, I could probably leapfrog somebody.
Do you think that would ever come up as a conversation when somebody's considering early graduation and says, and perhaps you, or you say to them, hey, let's just put this on the table. You might be jeopardizing your val or sal designation. Just want to make sure you understand that possible.
Yep. Both ways. I see what you're saying. Like, they might not be bumping, they might be actually, they might be in the running for the one class, but if they, that's.
Well, I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
But this is not gonna, it's not gonna be a layup anymore.
Hasn't come up yet.
I would leave it alone.
Leave it as
I
is.
think it can be messy in those
Yep,
situations,
I agree.
but I mean, for a kid to try and gain this, I'm sure it can happen.
I'm not saying that has
But
happened.
that's, you gotta be looking pretty far ahead, right?
And for what?
And you gotta, I don't know, it seems like too remote.
I would have thought so too.
Yeah, so that's why you guys are here, because you guys have seen all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not sure it would be fair to say because you're graduating early, you have no chance at being the other side.
Right, because what if you're graduating early because you get this great opportunity at a
For
college?
Harvard, right?
Right. and-
For medical reasons.
I'll ask you to look
Or
at it
that.
from the other side though. What if you know you're number 1 in the class? And you've been number 1 in the class since 6th grade. Now a
Can you
younger
imagine
kid
this
is graduating early, has a higher GPA than you.
I just think that if somebody earned it, then they earned it and they had a better GPA than you. I
Okay.
think that's the way of the world, you know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you.
It's a tough lesson, but we have to learn it.
Wow.
Again, this is why I said it on Monday, patient, but I'm missing on this.
Real talk, I think. Real honesty.
Yeah.
So the question is gonna come up is, since we haven't defined the valedictory class yet, and if our sal is gonna be the way that the board wants to go, I would still leave this as draft.
Okay.
If it's up to you, because until we finalize that other one, unless we say, no, we're never gonna get rid of val and sal, then it
Yeah.
stays as
I
it
mean, we
is.
might be able to print through them all today. I would also add, we probably want to cross-reference if we're keeping,
Well, there's no cross
there's no
references on here either.
cross-references right now, but I'll make a little note,
Okay.
depending on what.
Yeah.
But if we do finish all these, then, and take them to the board, this would go as a first read anyway. in college. All right. We good with this then? Ready to move on? Yeah. Okay, so this one is numbered 4771. Our current policy, 4771, is this valedictory class, valedictorian.
Can we skip that one? Because I think the other ones might be a little bit quicker.
Sure. Yeah, let's at least get through the 4772.
Yeah,
Because
because I
that's
mean,
the actual.
that's the one that we really need to
dove
get done.
into. Okay.
And then 4773, the
I think
disability
you're
one,
right, the next one's a little faster.
I think that one
That was,
pretty straightforward. I don't think, but just so that we can get those two done and then, 'cause I
Sure.
think the valedictory will be a little bit.
Sure. Okay, so 4772 and the related regulation is called graduation ceremonies, and we do not have this policy, and it is required. So our draft just started with like the NISBA recommendation. And then we typically kind of go through it before and then add questions if we had any. And we encourage everyone here to say anything. Like, so the first paragraph is basically just talking about there is a ceremony and it's for celebrating honors and achievements. Basically, the board sets the date and the administration takes care of everything else. It does say, like, you guys are in charge of the attire. I don't know if that was necessary. Is the attire just the caps and gowns?
That's what it's on.
Right.
So I just want to say
What if someone doesn't want to wear?
I've had colleagues,
Yeah.
and myself disagree with colleagues and everything else, like, so we don't do this here, but there's some schools that used to do the two different colors,
I still see
right?
that.
Yeah, and that's a philosophical conversation that, you know, where we have, or, you know, can you wear a different sash, or can you wear this? And I've seen kids that get denied and everything else, so it becomes a major issue in some places. So that's why I just want to bring that up, because it says including attire. I want to make sure that it's administrative
So the two different colored gowns, we can apply as well.
gender.
In some
Don't
places.
go there.
Oh, I got rid of that a long time ago.
I mean, I can see you having two colors and the kids can choose whatever color.
Yeah. I got rid of
Easier to
that.
have one
Yeah.
color.
So, but I think the administration will determine the placement program, because including attire, it needs to go along with the board policies and philosophy of the district, right? Like, we have an DEI policy, it should align with that.
No, that's why
So-
I put my little cursor on there.
Yeah, I know, good question.
The tire seems benign, but then all of a sudden.
We don't, we certainly don't require attire except the cap and gown, right? And you're right, Frank, it hasn't become an issue.
No, not here, but
No.
I've seen it in other
Sure.
places. It's made front page news in other
I mean-
school district almost every.
Throughout the
Every
years,
year.
we've had kids asked to wear certain something to represent something, and they've not been denied.
I remember, yeah.
But they're still wearing a cap and gown.
Correct.
I mean, I think as long as they're wearing a cap and gown, that's really all we require. You want to put a little decoration on,
Oh, yeah.
you want to wear a
That's fine.
sash.
I just want to clarify it.
Where
'cause-
like the things you've seen in other places for some reason cause concern is if someone wants to wear a flag around them of their.
I'm not gonna get in the way of that.
Someone
I
wants
say
to
cap
wear
it, wear
a
your cap and
sash
gown and put out whatever
For
else.
pride.
Right.
or
Yeah.
Those things.
I
that-
agree.
What if it's offensive?
Right.
Well, it goes against policy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's,
Yeah, we would be protected.
yeah,
Oh.
that's why I said, if as long as it adheres to policy, you can't deny it, right? So
Okay,
say you guys were gonna, like, let's say the building principal was gonna deny something, and I did a review of it, and it goes along with policy, I would have to say, no, I'm sorry, you're wrong, right? And go
Got it.
through that.
You're kind of, the phrase including attire just raises a red
Yeah.
flag. in question.
But it should be there.
Well, I agree, but we might want to just be more specific.
I don't like the ambiguity.
All right, well, yeah, I was just gonna say, including a requirement of a cap and gown or something like that. You don't have to go into anything beyond that. But if that is the baseline of what we're requiring, then I just leave it here, that's fine, I'm fine with that, but what you mean by attire is a cap and gown.
So they have to buy their cap and gown, right? So what if the kid can't afford it?
we have lots of extra caps and gowns in our closet and our office for the single class will cover.
I like including attire because it gives, I understand what you're saying, but let's say somebody wants to wear the Confederate flag, right?
And that's where my mind just went.
It does not go including attire, right? So that's not the proper attire for.
Well, I understand, but if she said including attire of a cap and gown, something like that, that made it clear what you were talking about. Or are you trying to say, there's gonna be times we're gonna deny your ability to wear something that.
It just means that the administration will determine.
Okay, all right, I get you.
So that will include things like sashes. So CTE students might have a separate sash. National Society of High School Scholars probably sells a sash.
That would all be okay.
It'll be okay. Those examples maybe will be okay, but you know, what if it's something that you know, when we Google it, we realize that shouldn't be here.
But you're saying there's other policy.
As long as it doesn't,
You still have the ability to say no to that.
right, as long as it doesn't go against any policy, I would say, yeah, you gotta do it, but it say like it's, again, I use the Confederate flag, so I would just say a racist organization or something like that, or a prejudice organization. We wouldn't allow that, right, because it goes against our policies. So we would say no to it.
Are we assuming that you're gonna know this beforehand? Some kid's gonna just show up with something on it.
You never know,
You
right?
never know.
You never know, but most times you check it and catch it, right?
What about political statements?
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, people are allowed to wear political t-shirts now, right?
I mean, I'm
As long
sure,
as it's not,
if a kid put a political statement on their
right,
thing, are you gonna stop them? I mean, I've seen crazy things on those things, right? The only thing I think you would stop is like a marijuana, right?
Sure.
Because
Why it's legal.
but it endorses God, goes against our policy. It endorses the use of. Yeah. All right, so I think we're over going into this.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
I'll give them a comment. And in this, it says speakers may be selected from among the graduating class or others.
It's vague, but I like it.
Yeah.
Because it gives us flexibility this time.
But you're the senior class, I mean, they have a whole, the senior
Yeah.
class advisor, they have a whole, I mean, I've never seen something so organized and structured than
Here,
here.
we have a commencement committee,
Right.
and they are charged with this.
I guess my question was just like, who is approving what a kid writes?
So we ask that the kids give us their speeches, I think a week or so before graduation, and Dave and I are looking at it, the principal's looking at it. We're not supposed to change it, but we will approve it ahead of time.
No surprises.
Let's hope.
And do you ever feel like somebody can't do the speech they want to do?
Hasn't happened
It's
yet.
not heavy handed.
I had a time where we did it once and it became, one of the speeches was very attacking certain people in the building. So, correct, right? Well, in a very obvious way. So we spoke with the parent, spoke with the child, understood how it would negatively impact the rest of the day. The kid changed his speech on paper, completely did whatever they wanted up on stage. So, like, it is what it is. Even if you try to like censor it, if somebody wants to do it, they're gonna do what they want to do.
I've been to quite a few of these, and the worst I've seen was for the convention speaker. Like, do you understand who you're talking to?
Yeah.
I mean, just completely missing the, read the room.
That was my college graduation.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby was our graduation.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Missed it. Missed the room.
So do you guys feel the supports, gives you the structure?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, goes along with what we already have in place.
and is there anything you would want changed in this? Okay. The next paragraph, I think, talks just broadly about who can participate. It says you have to complete your requirements for graduation. And it says exceptions may be made under extraordinary circumstances with the permission of the superintendent of schools. I don't know if that means exceptions when you can walk or they can fully for walking.
Remember to be,
Oh, because it refers to participation.
Okay. Students who earn either CDOS or SACC without meeting the requirement for high school diploma.
and that's what we already practiced.
Should I back up to the first sentence in this paragraph?
Yeah.
Because you both read it one way and I was reading it the other way. So
Was
You
too.
were,
participation in the graduation ceremony and related activities will be predicated on satisfactory completion of all graduation requirements. Exceptions may be made. So I'm thinking of the kid who falls one credit short, but wants to walk. Where we've been telling this kid, you got to pass your classes or you're not walking. That's not extraordinary circumstances, unless the kid has some tragedy and couldn't pass that class. The kid just not doing their work isn't extraordinary in my point. But if it's just, we can tell kids you can't walk, because you've done something that was extraordinarily bad.
There is a paragraph later about the night investigation.
Yeah. So,
I think it could be read either way.
so what's your preference in that situation? Do you not want them to be able to walk? Because I think
Under
we can,
extraordinary circumstances, that's one thing. But the student who, you know, has terrible attendance, doesn't do their homework.
I think that's the
Either
next
one is-
paragraph. I think that's when they talk about denying participation, I think comes up. I think what this one is intended to be the kid who, I could remember from a graduation I was on, there was a kid who, was involved in a very serious accident. And he did not have it, but he would have, and he walked in a wheelchair, unfortunately. You know,
And that's a truly.
it was an extraordinary circumstance,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe that is good to keep in there if that does.
Right.
so Tim, look at the next paragraph at the top of page 2.
Oh, maybe that's.
This is the however denied.
Yeah.
So this talks about violations of code of conduct. We already say,
I get it.
so Tim raised the question, Frank, about whether exceptions in the case of extraordinary circumstances refers to granting the ability to walk or participate versus, like denying the ability to walk. We think that paragraph, the next paragraph on top of page 2 covers denying participation, and that exceptions refers to someone that had some extraordinary circumstance, not they didn't get their work done or show up to class. Accident, medical, blah, blah, blah. Definitely. Right, where if they're credit short, they're gonna make it up over the summer and.
They have permission to walk at their peers.
Right.
This paragraph, last sentence is students who have met the graduation requirements.
In the denied paragraph.
Right.
Is there another paragraph that I'm missing?
The previous paragraph about extraordinary circumstances, I think would both allow you to let a kid walk who doesn't have all their requirements met, or we'll kind of say what the next paragraph is saying.
So I will be honest with you, I had a lot of leeway as principal in my other district, and I made exceptions for kids to walk when, you know, I knew they were going to get high school credit and do it in August. And we denied kids because we wanted them to go to August and get their credit, that we denied them graduation because we know if we gave them that ability to do it, they would not have gotten the credits to do so. So we've done that both based on the circumstances. I had kids that, you know, had early deaths in the family and things like that. We've allowed that to happen. And there's been times where I've denied kids to walk to graduation, but the times that I've denied have been extremely serious. Like I would never deny a kid for walking because they owe money to the school district, or they didn't do their homework, or, I mean, it would be a serious violation. And I've had those where, you know, again, it was homicide, this word, you know, or attempted, like the threat of homicide.
This next paragraph, the first sentence specifically calls out violations of the code of conduct. And it's like,
When?
it's just, yeah, I don't even, yeah, right.
Did it happen?
When did that happen? Yeah.
Here's
Fourth
the
grade,
example.
yeah.
Here's the example. Let's say there's a violation of code of conduct, kids out for one calendar school year, right? So you can have one kid out for a full calendar year. They're suspended through their senior year, so therefore they're suspended through June 30th. Right? If they've met all the requirements and done everything they can, although they're still suspended, that would come down to the building principal and myself to make a decision, would we let them walk or not? Right? So that's where I think, but the way I read this, it's a current violation of the code of conduct.
So we should change that language.
It's not something that they did 3 years ago or 2 years ago. You know, it's within the, you know,
Yeah, it's just not written that way.
no,
Like you just add the word current. I don't even know if you need that sentence.
Yeah, I would leave it as is. I don't,
So it could
I
happen
mean,
anytime.
when would you ever invoke it for a full grade violation? It's gotta be
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that's sort of pending or recently adjudicated, like, right?
We're only talking about high school graduation, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
you said
think.
fourth grade graduation. That was
Oh,
our,
no,
that was
no,
our
no,
joke.
We were joking before about like how recent did the code of conduct violation have to be?
Fourth grade, and that happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Mark Diefendorf. He's a principal. It used to be a tradition when they get water going, they go crazy the last day of school. Kid points a super soaker at Mark, says, don't do it. Don't do it. He does it. You're not walking.
Oh. Oh.
We had another kid who didn't want to walk. His parents wanted him to walk. Asked the principal, what would happen if you caught me smoking? You wouldn't walk. And basically said, you got a match? Yeah. Yeah. So the kid went to the bathroom and lit up a cigarette.
Oh, my
He
God.
didn't want to walk. His parents were gonna make him.
We had a student smoke a marijuana joint in line. for Graduation. They did not walk.
Oh, my
Sorry,
God.
we're on camera, but yeah, there's some stories.
There's some stories.
That's why we've invited you.
Make this
This is
stuff
never-
up.
I apologize, I'm doing something, I'm taking care of the situation that just hasn't been addressed.
So
I
are
think
you,
because it says like students may as opposed to students will, that at least gives like flexibility.
Yeah.
I actually think it's okay to do that.
okay,
Yeah, I would be.
okay.
This is underlined because it's new language.
Yeah, so yes, we never had this policy, but NISBA did, and so this is the changes
Got it.
they did in September of 23, I
Got
think, to their existing policy, but yeah, since we never had it. So everyone's fine with having this language because it has wiggle room that supports you guys if you need to deny somebody.
Yeah, and, you know, we use that phrase, you can't walk if you don't complete your requirements as a motivator.
Sure.
Most of the time it works.
Yeah.
So.
Got a
this-
match?
Got a match?
All such rules will be provided to students and parents, guardians in advance.
Yeah.
Do we do that?
I had that question down below, yeah. Envelope says annual written notice to all students.
Is there something out there that says that you may not graduate, you may not be able to walk? And we're-
I don't recall as a parent.
It probably doesn't say that within our code of conduct either, right? Like that language is not in the code of conduct.
I almost feel like it's implied, like graduation ceremony means you met the graduation requirements.
Yeah, but we're talking particularly about a code of conduct violation.
I would take this sentence out. It's not even clear to me what rules it's referring
Yeah.
to. Is it the other rules and conditions for participation?
Walking is a
Like-
privilege, not a right, by the way.
Yeah, I would just take it out.
All such rules will be provided to the students and parents.
I just took it out.
Delete.
I think we just take it out.
Yeah.
There is
Like,
language,
why, unless you think you need a requirement to do that in advance. And we have the graduation policy, graduation requirements policy, so. I think we've got it.
I think you're fine. Yeah, you want the ability to, if there's a serious violation going on, you want to have the ability to stop a student going, right?
But Archie's right. If somebody is being denied graduation and pouring through the policies, I never got this.
Right.
Yeah, what are the rules?
Yeah, okay.
Yes. All right, the next paragraph,
I believe you would never stop a student who got a skills or diploma or CDOS to be able to walk and then continue the program. I never think you would. So I just think you should add it to the program.
And this has been our practice.
Yeah.
And we also invite them to participate in any senior related activities as well. They want to do the walkthrough, the senior retreat, the senior trip.
okay, you scroll down, there's some optional language. Students who participate in graduation by them subsequently meet the requirements for regents, may participate in that ceremony as well. Does anyone have any issues with that?
You want to say,
I say bring it on.
So I think we already have it, right?
That's a good
We
one.
say such students who subsequently meet the requirements for CDOS, SACC, or high school diploma may participate in the graduation ceremony of that graduating class.
So-
Don't we say that?
This is saying, and then so they participated in this graduation and then maybe
I've
next
actually dealt with
year,
this before in another district.
they actually got the
It's regretted.
regents. And so they let them, this is letting them walk
okay.
again.
There was a
Yes,
conversation,
okay.
somebody actually wanted to deny a kid once. They got a CDOS diploma, walked, went back to their
Regents.
program, got a regents diploma, local diploma.
That's ridiculous.
And we're like, no, you're walking. It's awesome. So,
Celebrate.
Okay.
Yeah.
totally
Let's
fine.
celebrate.
But what about that last sentence?
The last sentence, may participate in the graduation.
Students who have not previously participated in the graduation ceremony may do so. Are we saying otherwise in the previous sentence?
Here on the paragraph, it's still on page 2, right, Tim?
Yes, students with disabilities. I think it's the last sentence in that paragraph.
Okay. Who have not previously participated.
So does that mean they don't meet any requirements?
Well, I'm just saying,
But
this implies, I think, that you can't walk twice.
Yeah, it seems kind of contradictory.
No, I think what it's saying is
if you're aging out,
correct.
you
That's
can
what I think.
participate.
That's what I
Even if
think.
you don't have a stack, a
Yeah,
CDOS or
that's the way I'm reading
diploma,
it.
if you're aging
If
out.
you're a student with disability, you're 21 years old, you haven't gotten any credential, but you're aging out, you have the opportunity to participate.
Then the next paragraph is saying, if you've already participated with your CDOS, you can come back and participate with your regents or local.
That last sentence is kind of confusing. I don't know if you really need that.
Does that ever?
I mean, you
happen
gotta,
where you have a
if you
kid
haven't
go-
met the, if you
Not
haven't
yet.
met the requirements, you can't walk.
But
Well,
if
this is
you're-
saying you can,
But if you're a student who may not be able to meet those
you
requirements.
can never get through it.
But this last sentence doesn't say that level. It suggests like,
I think it's intended for students with disabilities who are aging out.
yeah,
They've turned 22 and they have not
have
and
not,
will not.
if
met
you
the
want to say it that
requirements.
specifically, I think that makes it, this sentence is a little, doesn't say that clearly.
I know, I understand what it's trying to say.
Yeah. So students with disabilities who do not meet the requirements for,
Just trying to see.
So
what
here's
it's
gonna be the
saying.
question, right? You and I, when we're thinking disabilities right now, we're all thinking outplaced students with severe disabilities, right?
right,
Dyslexia is a disability. So, there's also very mild forms. So we're thinking a student who is gonna age out at 22.
Right.
Well,
right.
isn't it, I mean, can't we say person who has aged out, I'm gonna just say this, being clear. If not, I'm trying to be clear. You've aged out, you've not received your CDOS, you've not received your SACC, you can't walk. That's really what this is intended to say, right?
No, I think it's the opposite.
I think
Yes.
it's saying you can.
You can,
That particular student who's never attended a ceremony, but is aging out, can walk even if they haven't met the requirements.
Yeah.
and we think that's what that sentence says?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I think
That's what it's
it's
trying to say.
I think in terms of what you were saying, you could say like a disability that has significantly barred them from meeting the requirements to graduate.
Oh, okay, I'm reading this differently.
Back to the language on.
Yeah, that's
Their final year being possibly the year they age out.
correct. Why don't we just say that, the year they,
There's more language down below about 22nd birthday.
because they can't stay here, right? If they don't have a disability, you can't stay until 22. Why actually can?
Until
they
you're
turn
22nd.
Yeah, but no, we
Right,
can.
that just changed?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
saying, like, if
yeah.
you're a general ed student,
Oh,
can you be here until you're 21? You can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So I have a question. If a student with a disability is like 20 and they've come to the realization that they're not gonna be able to like meet their requirements because their disability, so they're gonna stop and they not walk because they haven't hit that age.
Do they have to
They're
wait till
proclaiming
the
this is my
parent?
final year.
If they have the CDOS or the SAC, yes,
So if they can't like earn them, because there's,
then they can participate in school until they're turn 22.
and they have to
then
do that
can-
to graduate?
She's saying, can they do it at 21?
Like, what if they've decided that they're not gonna get it? And like they,
They're done.
That's a matter of policy, I guess. If there's anything, it's not in the law. It's up to us.
Why don't we send this at end of the final year, end of the year that they age out? End of the 22 school year. I get what this is. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just get rid of it, but
I'm gonna try
I
and
have,
how about if we say, not, we may do so at the end of the year in which they are no longer eligible to participate.
yeah.
There is a notation there about 22nd birthday. See the new, it says new note. We have updated the language below to clarify the district's obligation to provide special education services for students.
So I think the way this is written now, it would include your scenario page where they say, I'm 21, but I'm done.
That's their final year.
That would be their final year in school, and I think that would cover it. So maybe we leave it as is, because then it covers the 20 or
Are
20.
you ever really gonna, I mean, the amount of times you'll ever have to deal with it?
So we're just trying to include anyone that wants to.
You want some discretion on this one.
you could also just say at the end, instead of like may do so at the end of their final year, could you say at the discretion of
I was just gonna say
somebody?
that.
I think that's right.
But with approval. The building principal.
Okay. Hope we did one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Okay,
I thought this would be approval. I'm sorry.
no, this is necessary
Yeah.
though, I mean. I'm sorry that everyone has to extend their days, but once we're done, this will be good, you know.
Okay, so we're good with the optional language at the top of page 30.
Yes. Mhm. Then there's new language added because of the 22. This is fine. And then this last sentence, though, I was like, what? The board directs the superintendent to develop regulations to implement this policy to be adopted by the board. That's fine. The district will provide annual written notice to all students and their parents, guardians of the requirements of this policy and associated regulations. I guess, is this where we normally like to say our annual notices, but I'm saying, you know, that's when we say you have to post it.
Well, what I'm gonna wonder is, do you guys tell parents about when you do your graduation speeches and junior meetings and senior meetings? They understand the requirements for graduation, correct?
Yes.
I think so.
So you basically communicate this policy to those parents, correct?
This is written,
Oh,
right. I don't know if it has to say that.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you want parents to be informed, and I think the point of this is to make sure everyone knows what the requirements are, everyone's seen it in writing. But annual notices get tricky.
And we don't have an annual written notice by any means. We're having annual conversations with families. We do have a few presentations that we do for parents that have that. There's our 8th grade, or 9th and 10th grade.
If you took out the word written, okay,
I say we delete the first sentence and delete written.
That's fine.
Tim?
Well, the note here says the law requires annual written notice. Is that
Oh,
accurate?
right above it. The law also requires annual written notices to all students and their parents, guardians about the district's policy and procedure as well. I don't know. It kind of goes back to that thing.
Might not be
Everybody
just-
sign at the beginning of the year.
Well, no, how about this? No, because I think provide written notice to kids who are gonna graduate high school. Like, I mean, does it really have to go to every family? I mean, every year, I mean, if I'm a freshman and I'm not gonna read this. It's only families who are going to be subject to this
Is
policy.
there something
itself.
they get in writing now says, congratulations, you've met all the requirements and here's how we're gonna honor you, anything like that?
No, no.
But if this is an accurate statement, and I don't know where this came from, law requires annual written notice.
They've got some laws down below. Education law 3204. What do we have the hook for?
Yeah, but I think a lot of things like that are covered with, here's your annual written notice and a link to our policy book.
We've had that conversation. Leave it as is, then. Take out the language about me.
So I think you could take out the language about regulations, even though it's required, because we have it. in the order. So we're just gonna update the order. Right?
Are you gonna leave in the word written? Because we have to.
Yeah, if it's in the law.
So what are we gonna do? So we don't have to do this in the meeting.
I think it should be, I don't think it should be every year for every family. I really feel it should be only for those subject to, able to be able to participate in graduation at that time.
Can you just add the word graduating? Do all graduating students and their,
To eligible students.
And then just have to do something.
But I think that can be done really simple with, when you guys are doing your senior meetings.
Yeah, on a piece of paper.
Yeah, or here's our policy, and make sure you look at our graduation policies. Here's our graduation policy.
But if we're giving them notice annually of all of our policies, that's one of the policies.
So you just add it to the
Yeah.
QR code. You just feel like it's just silly. I mean, you're not doing anything really. No one's gonna, if you have a listing of 1,000 policies because of annual notice, no one's gonna look at them.
Right.
Agreed, but if someone were to see this on LinkedIn.
I know. So why don't you want to add this one to the QR code then?
So we'll cover it,
In the meeting.
cover the law, and then we'll say it verbally.
We'll add it to the list of annual notices and then we'll compile that list over the summer. We'll just put it on. We talked about all the ones that we've been finding that there's a lot of policies that require annual notice that we didn't realize. And it just keeps compiling.
To the point where it's worth. So who's gonna read it all?
Right. Overwhelming.
At this point, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Who's at it? Okay.
Okay, and then the reg is right below it. Well, I just read through it quick. I didn't see anything except we didn't insert some of these titles.
Yeah,
Or actually, maybe we do just want it to be the principal and get rid of that or appropriate title. Each year, the high school principal shall determine whether each student who's entered ninth grade is eligible to participate in that year's graduation ceremony.
Again, it's not like they're gonna be
Yeah, we
fine
find the
tooth combing
principal.
this, right?
And you're fine with the next paragraph.
Oh, I want that. Yeah, I'd like to know who's not graduating, who's not graduating. Where time.
Okay. As we scroll through this, is there anything from anyone else?
Tim, can you want me to? I can see it. Okay.
Any student who meets such requirements and wishes to participate in the graduation ceremony, the superintendent shall ensure prior to graduation that the high school building principal, the student, and the parent guardians are notified that the student may participate in that year's graduation ceremony.
So does that mean that back to our early
Yes.
graduation policy? If you have somebody who's completed 22 credits, 15 hours of community service. And they're a junior, so you have to know them.
Dear heart.
I think this is for special education students, this paragraph.
Okay, each student self-identified, oh, you might be right. Yeah. Good catch.
Right, so that would be students who are not on track to get a Regents diploma.
But none for local.
Okay,
So it's just saying notifying those students that they can participate if they want to.
I wrote high school principals and or PPS director.
They usually pay her.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
okay.
and she does do this.
Yeah, she really works with
Yeah.
all the families to make sure.
Yeah.
And then she goes above and beyond to make sure when they're doing the walkthroughs, the kids are, you know, preset, the families are preset, there's plans for the kids. And, yeah, she does it really good job.
Does everyone feel good with this? Can we mark it final? This will be a first read as well. Okay, 4773. Sorry, it's taking so long, guys. But your input is very helpful. It seems like it would be a waste of time to do without you guys. So. All right, this is a diploma and credential options for students with disabilities. And we currently have the policy dated 2013. So this would just be updating it.
Karen's looked at this and made her stamping approval already.
So my only question was, should 21 be 22?
No,
No?
we went through this with the attorney and Karen went through this again with our counsel just a couple of days ago. Since we're not getting credit right now and we're not getting the money. They're encouraging, most schools are all keeping it until the age of 21 at this time.
Okay.
So based on council's recommendation, we are to keep it at 20. Well, Rebecca had it at 22 before. And we had council review it and for council recommendation, they said we should.
I
Because
did,
again, it's to the end, reaches the age of 21, so it's in the next school, year, so it's still bringing 22.
Okay.
It's just that regulation to go to beyond the school year of 22.
I'm good with this. We can mark it final. This would be a second read. However, it does refer to 4772, which would be a first read. So. And we don't have yet, you know what I mean? So you might want to just package
Bring it at your bank.
Bring it
Yeah.
at a later date. Okay. So we will do it probably. At the-
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Is this?
Oh.
Okay.
Just doing a little bit the whole thing yellow.
Yeah, we're not gonna keep this one tonight, let's be honest on that.
You might be surprised.
Given the conversations I've had with Tim on this one.
Okay. Well, at least it's true. Okay, now,
Do you want to look at
Valedictorian.
the current Voorheesville
oh, right,
one or the?
there's one that says needs to be addressed and
Yeah,
new.
that's the one.
That's what I think where people. put
Yeah, the one I
comments.
wrote needs to be
Yeah.
addressed is the Voorheesville one.
Okay. So just so this is the policy valedictory class, valedictorian, salutatorian, and we've had it as written since 2016. This is not a required policy. Elizabeth does not have a recommendation for this type of policy. If we do decide to keep this, we'll just have to remember it, I would think. If we just talked about a different whole subject. Okay, with all that said, it currently spells out what the valedictory class is and it has some parameters there. And then it says from within that group, the valedictorian and salutatorian are identified, and it says when and the process that they use to do that. And then there's a few criteria you have to meet in addition to that. As it's written, involvement in 2 or more district-sponsored clubs, extracurricular activities, or sports teams, successful completion of the community service hours, and remain in good standing with all district-sponsored clubs, extracurricular activities, and resources. So I don't know if you guys want to hit it all up and just maybe talk to us about like
Tim, you've got the floor.
what this currently is and why and the history. Help us
Sure,
understand.
sure. I was under the impression because she told me, Laura Schmidt said, the participation in clubs, she got rid of.
Oh.
So apparently she did not. She told me she did.
Maybe she's here.
Um,
That can easily happen.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that one is necessary, but it's in there now. This came about years and years ago when we had about half as many AP classes as we do now. So hitting that magic number of 7, first of all, if we change nothing else on this, I would hope that classes changes the credits. Because right now we have 2 half-credit English courses for seniors.
Oh, right.
Where's that?
Um,
Is it in, like, under classes?
Like if you took.
Right under the
macro,
number
micro,
7.
Yeah.
economics,
Classes
that
should be
would be-
credits.
All right, I'm gonna do a suggestion editing, and that way it will show the suggestions, but not change it altogether, if that's all right.
So this happened way back when getting 7 of those classes was pretty significant. Now, not so much.
I think Matt's taken 7 in the last year. Including his summer classes.
He may be taking 7 this year. Paige Lehman takes 7 every year. So, not that you're not, an impressive human being, but there's quite a few kids who can get to 7 pretty easily. So our current 12th graders, just looking at this as a whole, there's only 70 of them. 20 of them have at least a 94 average. That's another thing that's changed since I've been here,
I was gonna ask about that.
the grade inflation.
Right.
Yeah. A kid with a 94 average is 20th in the class of 70. That's not even top quarter of the class.
Mm.
So, if we're still gonna grade like we grade, that's pretty liberal. The current juniors is even worse. Coming into junior year, 33 out of 95 kids had at least a 94 average. So of those kids, I'm guessing there's 1 or 2 that won't have the 7. So now we've got a third of the class that has this extra thing hanging off their necks. And Kristen and I talk about this all the time. I think if you're going to give special recognition and special accolades, it should be special. I think if half the class gets it and half the class doesn't, that other half really feels bad. Whereas if only 10% gets it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, those guys get it. Of course, those guys get it. The other 90% doesn't feel so bad. So that's my take on it. I think if we're going, and again, I don't care one way or another, if we're going to continue with the validating class,
We will be as long as.
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Want to miss your words on recording.
Oh, I want to be recorded. If we're going to continue with the valedictory class, my opinion is it should be a little bit more rigorous.
I agree.
You agree? Yeah.
Right? Because like Tim,
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like Tim says, at graduation, so, Tim is sort of charged at looking at the transcripts, noting who's going to be a part of it. It does end up being a third, a quarter of the class where you've got kids that have AHS stoles and red cords and yellow cords, and then how's everybody else feel?
So this is a new practice for me at this district. So I'm only gonna give you my philosophy and feelings, not what I feel should be done, because I think it's a conversation from the community, what the community wants to really, be a part of and have as part of the practice. Because these things have deep rooted traditions, and so just with that being said is, I was in a school district that did the top 10. I was in a school district that did the top 5. And I've seen school districts that get away with it completely, right?
For valedictorian
Yeah.
class you're talking about?
Yeah.
Top 10 kids or top?
They just do the top 10 GPAs and that's it. They don't do a valedictory class. They just base it off GPA. And that is a question too, because of what
Weighted,
constitutes the
not weighted.
GPA and how do you create the GPA?
Sure.
Oh, don't get me started.
Right, exactly. So,
You talk out that ledge.
I might
I
need
mean,
to.
my personal feelings is that we want to treat all kids equally and we want to have them be successful. I don't think you need a valedictory class to be able to do that because we have them being able to get National Honor Society and all these other issues. So if you are going to have special recognition, you should be extremely stringent on what you do, or you just get rid of it altogether and just keep the val and sal. You know, because I think personally for me, I'm old school. I would be very hard pressed to say you don't have a valedictorian salutatorian. It's just, that's my feeling. I know other people would say differently. But I don't think you should just have this, I keep looking with Tim,
Always agree with me.
that, you know, if we're gonna do it, it needs to be really stringent, but then you're still alienating kids, so just do it because you already have the other structures in place. National Honor Society is a huge deal. Those kids, you know, they perform hard, they're rigorous to get into it, keep it at that, and then the balance out. And if you're gonna recognize GPA, do the top 10.
I
So
like some
curious to hear
sort of
opinion, yeah.
GPA recognition. I don't know, I don't think I would like it if we just did a balance cell and then nothing else. But I also agree, I think it kind of gets ridiculous when it's a third of a class. Cause then I think it starts to attract like interest in like, oh, I thought this person would have it and they don't. But if it's like a really small number of people, then I think it draws less attention to like, if you don't have it.
Tim, I'm not sure you already said this, and you guys talked a little bit about like gaming the system before. We absolutely have kids that know how to get to that 7 by taking very little AP courses. And I don't know, doesn't really feel kind of like you said.
Can I just say one thing too and ask a question of both of you? Does this mean anything for college for people? Like being on the valedictory class, does that help them get?
No, because
You're
this
already
isn't
in college.
announced until.
Right, so there you go. So I want to just like, I want to clarify on record, like, this is not like the end all break all for kids getting into college.
But I think having a class rank would help. Like, where are you in your
Some
class?
places are getting class rank all together as well, by the way.
Yeah, I know, and I am troubled by that.
You think it helps kids get into college if there's a ranking?
I'm not a college admissions officer, but you guys tell me. I think it helps. I mean, we don't do it, so it's tough to say, but.
I'm rewarding.
Again, that kid here with a 94 average, maybe a kid taking all these tough classes, and that kid is ranked 20th.
Second.
There may be 6 or 7 kids ahead of that kid who have taken a much easier route.
Yep.
Even if they were as capable.
Which gets me back to waiting.
Yeah, talk about that.
You want to be talking about waiting?
Oh, yeah, yeah, let's
Okay.
understand the pros and cons.
May I use you as an example?
Go for
Can
it.
you be the lesser example here?
Oh,
Sure.
So Paige is taking 5 AP classes, band and chorus. She's got 100 average in all of those. Jimmy's taking 5 AP classes, nothing else. 100 average. Jimmy's ahead of Paige. If you wait, you're probably gonna kill electives. That's the simple solution.
Unless you don't include them in the calculation.
Right? Then you have to make value judgments for all of our classes. It's tough,
But you could define what are core academic subjects that go into the rating.
for sure.
Former music teacher.
Yeah, so I did that heavy press.
Sorry, Frank.
For a guy who probably wouldn't have gone to college without music, respectfully, honestly. Like saying that those classes aren't important, I mean, again, I did not graduate anywhere
Not
near the
saying they
valedictory
don't,
class.
They're not important.
But, well, that's what we just gotta be careful of that, like, but I've seen places where they say core classes are core, and electives are, and then defining what electives are about.
And here's what we see in our office.
Yeah.
If a college is really concerned about rank, they'll ask a question like, if you don't rank, well, is this kid in the top, whatever? And we have rating scales on all the applications. Rank this kid academically, you know, top 10%, top 5%, one of the best I've ever seen. That's important to them. When we send our transcript, they like that we're out of 100 points. They like that we don't wait, because they pull classes and they wait. College admissions officers will do a separate weighting. So there is some benefit for the kids who take all the tough stuff and score really well.
Sounds to me, the way, what you're talking about, when you're talking about RG, that this sets us up for a gaming. That there could be, now we've created the game.
Potentially, yeah,
Yeah, and that's what it sounds that way.
yep, and
And
I
I
told you
prefer
about
it
how
not,
that,
that we not have that.
one of my children.
Yeah, outgained.
Yes.
Well, class ranking, I think you're doing that.
I don't know the
Well,
value of.
Depends on how you rank, right? Like if you're
I get-
waiting,
Depends on,
Yes.
starts the game,
yeah.
and that's what I'm talking about, right?
Waiting is tough, and waiting's been brought up all the time, every year. If you're going to wait, somebody is going to have to place value judgments on all the classes.
That's tricky.
Tricky, sensitive, right? You know, Frank's the music guy. You know, you're gonna tell Chris Jansen that music theory doesn't count as much as something else. What do you mean? Sorry, Chris, if you're watching this. And yeah, I don't think that there's any really good way to do it. I can see why you're saying that. I mean, Paige is a kid like that. I had kids like that. They're taking all the APs, and yet maybe somebody has a higher average.
Well, you know, I think about when you get on to college then.
Exactly.
And you're somebody like me who I was a poli-sci major. So I had a whole bunch of liberal arts classes and I had a 3.85 or something like that. But you think I could have done physics? And the guy who got a 3.85 in physics, or the gal, a lot smarter than me. You know, I mean, those differentiations become more apparent when you go on to the next level.
Right. So this isn't the end game. You know, ultimately the prize is the kids who are busting their humps. They're so well prepared.
That is true.
And not to digress from it, but we did talk about doing the grading policy at some point, but knowing that's going to be a long-term conversation. And that is part of that conversation in the grading policy that we said eventually, probably next year, we'll start looking at that further.
So if you guys did want to keep this and make it more rigorous, then what would you recommend?
Probably bumping that number up for starters.
The 7 or the?
Here's my question, do you
94?
think we should keep? From your eyes as a guidance counselor, and purely only as guidance counselors, not speaking on behalf of the community, the students, the parents, I'm just.
No pressure.
Yeah, no, but again, I think I'm taking off the pressure
It's
because I
all
don't
like
want to
Frank,
speak
you
for
said, like
everyone else.
the tradition.
Yeah.
That's hard, but does it really feel special?
When it's a third of the class?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I think we all agree with that now. Do you agree if it's a third of the class?
I agree with you guys.
I don't know if it's necessary.
I agree. I just think it's tough for whoever's like that number 3 to just get enough.
We had an honor grad in the former district I was at. We did Val, Sal, and honor grad. So it was 3 and all 3 new scooches.
And there's number 4.
And then number 4,
We did not do a number.
where's Miss Harsh Reality?
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking like top 3% is kind of
Right.
what I
so-
like, but I think the 94 is excessive nowadays.
Yeah, I think so too.
So do you get rid of this and then have something else, like you're saying, maybe a top 10 is recognized instead of?
I like
20
10, I
kids?
feel like 10% of the class is like a metric that's been out there forever.
Top 7?
Top.
Yeah, it's only top 7 this year.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry.
There's only 7 kids this year that'll be top 10.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm not even sure it needs to be a valedictory class as much as like, you don't do class rank. I think it's nice to inform people, even if there's no recognition like you were number 3, just out of like curiosity. That people like know upon graduation, like where they ranked. Or like, if you were in the top 10%.
We'll tell you at
like,
graduation if
you
you
just
want.
know. I mean, like,
Everybody
formally.
knows.
High school class
Wait.
rank.
No.
No?
You're talking about rank?
Yeah,
What if
after
it's like
graduation, we don't call them?
A 20-way
No.
tie.
I have.
And I think that's
You?
like,
Have you?
Probably, I don't know.
We don't rank, so we don't rank. So we don't talk.
Right, we don't rank.
Oh, I still remember my class rank in high school. I mean,
And it was meaningful, like.
yeah, like it was something that I was like,
My husband didn't.
I worked hard
I
and
don't.
this
know.
is
So
where
you
I
guys
am.
didn't rank well, or we.
Yeah, I don't wanna know.
I remember mine, but I'm embarrassed.
So the elimination of the valedictory class presents a problem for me because I do want the balance out to meet certain standards.
Oh, sure, I see.
Yeah. I don't know, how do people feel about valedictory class? Like, is that just, we just get rid of it? Is it something to strive towards? I feel like it's something to strive towards, but
We just tighten it up.
I think we need to tighten it up for sure. Like, get 94 is gotta go.
I also, going back to where we started, I would like to make this difficult enough where to do it in 3 years would be a real lift.
I agree with you.
Also, I think just like an advantage of the valedictory class is like, if you have a class of 60 versus a class of 120, a student putting in the amount of effort that gets them to be in the top 5% in like one class ends up as salutatorian, in a bigger class ends up as nothing. And I feel like having a percentage of students kind of eliminates that in terms of the class sizes. Good one.
Looks like we all agree on quite a bit.
Seems like we have a lot of work.
And I think, you know, right now it's, do you keep that class and make it harder, make it more stringent? Or do you get rid of that and like you're saying, have something else, or you just call it you recognize top 10% at graduation? I think that's, you know, something to think about inside.
And how do you phase it in?
So,
Is it, you already change it now?
You don't know.
No.
You have to-
No, you would have
you
to be with
phase it in
cohort.
with cohort.
Yeah, so like when the kid comes in the 9th grade, then you phase it in. So whatever year this would go into effect, you started with that 9th grade cohort.
So you're gonna buy a lot of sashes for the next few years.
is there ever a situation where valedictorian and salutatorian are not like 1 and 2 in GPA?
I don't know that I've seen it in 29 years.
There's always 1 and 2.
So like many years ago, remember the site-based team used to have their hand in picking balance out, which I don't
Yeah.
understand how that, I know, right, don't.
That was before that. I
Put your-
remember that meeting.
That was
That's
before
when
that.
that changed.
So you had a kid come in homeschool, remember this year? And bump
Yes.
out the number 2 kid. So the site-based team really picked 1 and 3, and that kid didn't get it. Do you remember it?
Vaguely,
Jacqueline.
vaguely.
No. That's the only situation I remember where it wasn't just 1 and 2.
Would it, accommodate a number of people's feelings if we just said, instead of 10%, just said top 10? So you have class rankings. You're saying, we're gonna recognize the top 10 students.
You don't have to have rankings, you do top 10.
And the valedictorian, the salutatorian, the number 1 and 2 get to
Somebody's figuring
speak.
it out,
Yeah.
Huh?
right?
I'm wondering,
Somebody's figuring it out.
here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if this is a, like, I feel like I've learned a ton from having Kristen come here. And I feel like
Just take the win.
what I'm wondering though is maybe this is something that should go to the building leadership team, principal, you guys, couple teachers, couple students, and really start to have some more, like, we give the directive, like, look, we really want to notch us up a bit, right? We want to make it a little bit more stringent and understand, make it a special honor and to change it up a little bit more. What do you see? How do you see it? And get some feedback on that, because I think us trying to figure it out, we're gonna be 1,000 different places without understanding really what the pulse of the people are really want to see.
I'm
I know, I
fine.
was like, when I said it, I go, that was so stupid. That's the reason why we're.
I'm fine with that. I would just say that whatever we do should not be effective.
Oh,
No, absolutely not.
I think it'd be with the current 8th graders
Yeah.
at the earliest.
or I'm gonna say the current 7th graders. I feel like this is something you don't want to rush into a switch. Right? I think you need at least a year to work this. We have 3 months left. I don't think we're gonna get this done in 2 weeks.
But I like what you're saying, right? We obviously have our own opinions,
Hey,
but let's have more stakeholders get their opinions.
but we're all in agreement, tighter,
I
a
think,
little bit
yeah,
more
as
rigorous.
it's written, I don't think anyone thinks it's great, right?
Right.
Take away the club. Tim,
I think we should
I would
broaden
agree with
it to not just school-based activities.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of, I didn't know if that was, the intent of that was something I was missing, if it was like for school pride and. But she's saying we don't even need all school, there's almost about that. Okay, just, what should we do policy wise? We just talked about a 4771. Should we at a minimum just renumber this for now?
yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna
all you
have-
got. I mean, you just gotta send it to, through another process. for a
yeah,
while.
let's renumber this one to, you know, do we have a 4774?
No, we don't. Okay, so the only change we're agreeing on today is our old 4771 is now our
She was very.
4774. 523 chalk committee.
We got a number.
All right. But thank you guys. So I know that was a long meeting, but very helpful. Great. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank
If
you
you
very
think of things once you walk out, which always happens to me, you can email me or let Frank know from that, or the whole committee. Same for you, Paige. If you start talking to people, it'd be interesting to see feedback from the students.
Yeah, I'll try to get the consensus. Sure, there will be none, but.
Right, just
Whatever
like
the
right
consensus.
here. Is there anything else in this kind of group or this topic that you guys need our help or structure or policy or? That's what we're trying to do, is help all of you make your jobs.
Well, how about you think about it? And
Yes,
I know you'll come down and tell me.
yeah,
But just let us know.
yeah, know that
Tell
we're
me,
here
tell
to
the
try to
community.
help you guys.
You mentioned a leadership team. I'm just curious what that would look like. Who would be members of that team? Obviously, an administrator, at least one of us.
I think I'd like to talk to Doug about that, you guys, because, and I would like you guys, both of you involved in that, since you both understand what happened here, you know, probably Paige.
I would love for Paige to be.
You know, and I think whoever, I know there's students that are currently on the building leadership team, you know, like Monroe, Callie Monroe is on it.
Kelly, Sophie Heckler,
So I think those kids already have a voice, so keeping those kids having a voice,
Jack Stroud.
right?
None other building leadership team.
He's on the deck.
Right.
We have a lot of student voices in different places. So I think that, and teachers, maybe parents at some point, or do a parent, you know. Again, I'm brainstorming it out there, but I think it's food for thought, trying to figure out where it goes.
Could we hijack one of the department leader meetings?
Oh, I had to probably on that too. Good idea. It's a good idea.
Okay.
We can try.
Let's, yeah, anything maybe we can just talk about. This one, just so we
You
can
far
bring-
between, but not tonight, it's like,
Nothing
go,
else
go,
is
go.
pressing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I gotta be down.
Well, that's what I think. I think we have to look at who's gonna have a voice. And where do we want to hear the voices from? And get a wide array of voices, like the department leaders and chairs.
That makes sense.
It makes complete sense.
And how to let someone have a voice maybe that's not in that group.
Right.
You know, just so they feel. They have some input and there's a way to send their input to that group.
I just wanted to do one more before, but Tim, you
He's
can
gonna
make
pick
that.
up,
It's 4,
but,
3, 2, 1.4. It's very
Yep.
simple. I have an answer for.
Or if you don't mind, can you stay
Yeah, I'm
if I
gonna
read
have
that
to
one
take
little
off.
section
I'm gonna
on?
be downtown. So,
All right, thanks.
thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Thank you. You too.
So yeah,
So nice.
guys, if that's it, no, I won't make your day any
Oh,
longer.
it's over?
Yeah, we're done. All right, thank you so much for your time.
It's nice
Really.
hanging out with you guys, board members.
You guys are really nice.
Oh, wow, that's great. I think it's still being recorded.
Oh, you did. Put that on record. Can we keep that?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know why everybody says otherwise.
Oh,
This is over by the refrigerarer.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Bye, everybody.
bye, bye. Have a good night. You too, everyone.
It's heavy too. I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
Somebody's flash drive. Oh, no, it's a converter,
Oh.
yeah.
Goes for the
Oh, yeah.
HDMI.
Oh, okay.
You must have used it to connect.
Okay.
Paige, have a good evening.
You too.
So for this group, I think we, the
Independent
4.4 is the only one in that, 4321 group we didn't get to last time because we sent it back to Karen Jones for her info.
And I spoke to Gage on those. So I got counsel on this one. And I switched it. The district has the right to initiate the partial hearing prior to an outside evaluation. So as
Okay.
Karen said, we do it prior, then based on that hearing, because we're supposed to pay for it, right?
Yep.
If somebody says,
Right.
I want to do an evaluation, I don't agree with your evaluation, okay, the district will pay for it. But if we feel, and Karen says, if we ever feel like, no, ours is right on the money, this is right, you can do a hearing and say, and then you go to an arbitrator, and the arbitrator comes in and says, no, the district is correct, then the parent is on the hook for it. So
I put a note on this one, and I don't know if that makes sense, but I wondered if the use of the word hearing was wrong.
the attorney said, the arbitrator would come in for a hearing. Is that?
I mean, it sounds like we're gonna have a hearing before the hearing, the way it's written. It's kind of odd the way it is. That's why I said in the first paragraph, it talks about has a right, what do you say here? Independent evaluation, the first paragraph. It seemed to me that, if you go down a little further, so I wrote that.
I think we need to flip those two paragraphs.
Well, something there that, it seems to me an independent evaluation is really what we're talking about. We have the right to say we're gonna have an independent evaluation and initiate that. The hearing sounds like that's something that is,
Basically, there's a right, the parents have the right for an independent education evaluation. And it will have to be paid for by the district unless the district does a hearing prior to the evaluation being done. Then
okay, maybe that's, all right, I might understand it that way.
that's what Karen explained to me and went through it with me. And then I also spoke to council.
Sorry, I have to go.
No, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, talk to you.
Does that make more sense now?
I would want to read just the whole thing
Yeah.
again together. So in the first two paragraphs, we use independent evaluation and independent examination. The same thing, right?
Well, an evaluation is what's written, an examination is what's conducted. Is that the way that they're looking at this?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the same.
Yeah, I think it is. So you can
Process.
have the evaluation, a child may have an evaluation, so my child can be evaluated for speech. So I have an evaluation for speech. The speech therapist will do, our speech pathologist will do an examination, conduct the evaluation. I think that's the way that what the wording is. So that's the way I'm reading it.
Okay, so this is confusing, I think, because it doesn't spell out the steps, right, in what order they occur. Right, so a student's going to be evaluated by the Committee on Special Education or Committee on Preschool Special Education, right? If parents disagree with that evaluation, they then have the right to receive an independent evaluation at public expense.
Right.
Right? The way I read that the district has the right to an impartial hearing is that the district can essentially preempt the parent's ability to have that independent examination done at public expense by requesting an impartial hearing, by initiating an impartial hearing to demonstrate that its evaluation is appropriate.
Right.
So the timing of this is all like.
Well, I think that it's, yeah, I see what you're saying, because the policy basically saying that you can have an independent evaluation. It's only, it goes after the evaluation's already been done by the school district. So this is like policy about evaluation should already be somewhere else. This goes kind of next to that policy. So that's the way I'm thinking it.
Yep.
So I see what you're saying. It seems disconnected or disjointed. But I think the purpose is, yep, you can do an independent evaluation. District will pay for it unless it does an impartial hearing. Then, and the hearing officer finds out that,
Then
Or it's
it's
good,
on you to
then
pay
it's on you.
for it.
I mean, too bad we couldn't write it in 4 sentences and just have it be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we can hold off on this and come back to it, that was one, just since we have all the other ones.
I
Oh,
agree with
nice if it goes.
Tim. The order of the paragraphs needs to be reworked.
What if,
Like,
the-
we need so the Board of Education recognizes the right of parents or guardians of the student, blah, 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 blah. If they disagree with the evaluation, right? However, the district has the right to initiate an impartial hearing prior to an outside evaluation to demonstrate that its evaluation is appropriate.
gotcha,
If the hearing officer determines that the district's evaluation was appropriate, parent or guardian is not entitled to reimbursement of expense. Right?
did I do that right?
Yeah, the independent.
So what happens if the district does the evaluation and it's like, we're not gonna pay? And then they go and they pay for one, and then it shows that like they did actually need the other evaluation, can they then like be compensated?
No,
No, so the way this would, my understanding of the way this would work is if you want, if the district isn't willing to pay for the independent evaluation on its own dime, then the district has to go initiate an impartial hearing, demonstrate that its evaluation is good.
so
Which,
basically,
which I would imagine would be rare if there's constraints.
it would be, because it
around-
would cost more to do the arbitrary
It
than it
would
would
cost
to be
more to
able to
do the
evaluation.
arbitration than to pay for the evaluation.
Exactly.
So. I
Yeah,
think
the
it's-
district would typically probably just say, go ahead, because the arbitrator will cost much
Right,
more.
and there's constraints around how much can be spent.
Yeah.
So,
I asked Karen, I don't think Karen said she's ever done it before. But she says there are times that she's heard of school districts wanting to do it. I mean,
I think this cleans it up.
Yeah, okay, final. It will be a first read.
all right, and that one to there, and we're done.
I was just thinking before I lose everybody back to the graduation things. So we did the early graduation policy.
Yeah.
But we kind of like didn't have cross references or anything, so we weren't sure what we're gonna do with the old 4771. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I have to say, that was, I really think that for their time, that was really information.
Yeah.
It's just the examples.
Mhm.
Has happened, could happen.
Right, and I've had the conversations with them both, and that's why I have a better understanding, but even tonight, they even gave even more of an understanding.
So if I go into our draft for policy 4771, early graduation. Students graduating early shall be ranked with the graduating class and shall be eligible for all honors and awards available to that class. I think the way it's written is fine for where we ended.
Yeah.
Don't you all?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. And for cross references, we would probably. Refer to graduation requirements. So you definitely want 4770 graduation requirements. I think
You might,
have referred to
Might wanna-
4774.
yeah, I might, the valedictory.
Or do we need to be on 4773?
Uh, I mean, I suppose it's possible.
But I know that's kind of where I'm at, but if it, I mean, I have a child with disabilities that's out placed. Parents want to keep their child in typically in those placements until they're ready to be transitioned, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really gonna happen. You can add it, there's no harm to add 4773 and the new 4774.
Mhm.
I don't need 4771.
4774, I think.
Yeah, you want
We do, yeah.
four, because it's all about Valid.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay, I'm gonna mark this final. Why is it doing that? Try to mark this. final. And how did you label the
I think I tried.
needs to be addressed? Do you want me to put,
You can put.
what should we put for address?
We can put
Which one,
draft.
number?
Draft 4774, Victoria. I just put needs to be addressed because I want to remind myself.
So these like credentials that are like alternatives for walking, if you do that, you cannot be part of the auditory class?
They wouldn't,
If you meant the requirements, you could be, but
But not independently, that you just get this, like you need a standard.
but a student with disabilities could get a credential, like an advanced Regency diploma. And therefore then, you know, if they meet the requirements for graduate class, could absolutely get one.
Yeah.
But a CDOS diploma or a SAC diploma would not give a student the ability based off of the requirements of the rest.
Mike, do we bring this draft 4774 just to change the number? To the meeting for cross-referencing?
we should, because otherwise it's, right, if we're gonna have 2477.
Right. Okay, so,
But we need to be clear
yes,
that,
Still,
and I think Jess needs to, I'll have to remind her that not to use the current one that's on the website. Don't use the one that we all marked out because you might add credits or change involvement in the district. So, and
right,
I just need to make sure that it's your
it's just a renumbering.
yes.
same as the district, not ours. I'll have her fix that.
Okay. All right, and then I think on our agenda, there's anything else we absolutely have to do tonight, right?
Those, just this,
Yeah, okay.
Some of it's like legal feedback. We should have for Jim.
yeah, and I got some legal feedback, but
Okay. I had added on the agenda, just so everyone knows, which we're obviously not getting to, the policy 5605, student voter registration and pre-registration. It's been on the quarterly update, and I figured since it's a big vote year, that maybe we should just update that and make sure.
Yeah,
It was just
I
about,
don't think I had any real
Me
substantive
neither.
comments.
well, we don't have to do that now, but just so people know why I threw it on there, I'm like, it's pretty relevant this year.
can I add one more? Yeah, I mentioned 5500.
Yeah, we've had that on though.
We definitely need to look at directory information.
So for next meeting,
Do we want to just get
I don't,
5605 done? I mean, I didn't have any substantive comments. You asked the question.
I can
first, how
stay.
do we do this?
it's the voter one.
The voting one.
Um,
I mean,
I don't know the answer on how we do it.
Yeah, that's okay.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know that
So,
answer.
all right,
To be
then
very
we're
honest with you,
not-
that's a building
Do you
process.
mind asking?
No, I can absolutely find out, yeah.
The next meeting we'll do 5605,
And
which
that's-
is the voting. And we need to go back to 5500. 5500, student records.
Yes.
Plus the training. It's been on our below future meetings. And then everything we didn't get to today, the booster club, opioid, we're waiting for legal.
They are currently still.
Student privacy, I don't know if you have any.
I did get them over here.
The rights of the breast milk, is that, did we just remove that unpaid language? Is that-
No, I actually got an answer on that.
Is that a fixed one, a quick one? we can
Yeah,
do?
I got an answer on that, actually. That should be pretty simple. I use a big lawyer word in there too, by the way.
Oh, wow. See, you're ranking is right.
I think legal terms, one of the categories on today's connection.
Oh,
Was
I
it
haven't
really?
done it yet.
Oh my God.
What's today's connection?
I hope nobody listening.
It won't be posted.
It's not going live, so you're okay.
520.6. There it is. Draft. All right, well, we had gotten through all this, but we were talking about, should we remove that unpaid?
And I wrote
Okay.
next to it, the attorney's information. See, hold on, I'm going to the-
9520.6.
So basically what he explained to me was that all this means is that if an employer can't take somebody's, give them a free time and say, that's your free time, and then take their lunch away from them. That's all, basically, that's all it means. So it's not about unpaid or that, it's just that we can't supplant one thing with another.
All right, so the language that's at the top of page 2, I can't remember if that was there before.
That was NISBA's. And what the attorney says, it can't diminish or abrogate their ability for lunch because they're expressing personal.
So it's, you have to continue paying and you can't take away break
Correct.
time and meal time because someone is
Yeah.
expressing.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
I guess it needs to be said, but yes, pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious after it's written, like you just can't take it away. That's all it basically means. Silly that we have to say it.
So then we think we should do that unpaid break time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually explained it to me. I was like, oh, and I made one word, big word.
Okay, so then I think we'll leave as
Makes
is.
more sense now.
We can mark this final.
Yeah.
And it will go as a first read.
Perfect.
Okay, and now I'll stop.
All right.
In this, so for next meeting, we'll get to what we didn't get to today. I also want to pull up the student records. Is there anything else pressing? I mean, I think
We should be able to finish substitute teachers. That's it.
Yeah.
right now you want to do it?
We should do it.
Yes, great. I agree. Just want to make sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, well, afterward, anyone comes up with anything that they want to put up on a definite for next meeting, just let me know. And I'll keep crossing off as we get through some of these quarterly things.
Mhm.
All right, anything else from anyone? No? All right, well, thank you very much.